What's up, guys? Welcome back to MMA Today. Today, I just want to go ahead and discuss with you guys some potential fights that I think would be huge for the UFC. I think that there's a lot of great fighters right now, future Hall of Famers who don't have any fights lined up, and I think they need some matchups. So let's go ahead and break down some of these potential future matchups that I've been just thinking in my head, and let me know what you guys think as well. So the first one I want to talk with you guys about is Alexander Volkanovski. Now, Alexander Volkanovski is coming off a two-fight losing streak, to Islam Makhachev and Elliot Taporia. Now, these are no shame in losing to these guys, but he is coming off a KO loss. He's a legend of the sport, with not that much time left. And I think that he's only looking for big fights or meaningful fights. I know he's looking for the Ilya Taporia matchup, but I think that another fight that he should be interested in that could potentially be happening soon is Dustin Poirier. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Why should Volkanovski seek to fight Dustin Poirier instead of going for that rematch against Ilya Taporia? One thing I want to mention is that Ilya Taporia is fighting Max Holloway, so there's going to be a decent gap in between this fight and his next fight, whether he wins or loses. So I just think that regardless, Volk's is not going to be the type of guy who's going to sit out for maybe even over a year. So he's not going to want to do that, especially at 35 years old. He's taking some much needed time off, and I'm hearing that he's gearing up to try to make a return soon. So I just think that a guy like Dustin Poirier is a legacy fight. He's a great fighter, future Hall of Famer, and he's a big fight that would definitely excite someone like Volk. Dustin Poirier also in a similar situation. He's coming off a title loss to Islam Makhachev. No shame in that. Islam Makhachev is one of the greatest fighters in the world, but I think that Dustin Poirier is on the verge of maybe retiring. And in his interview, he's saying that he doesn't want to fight any meaningless fight. He wants to fight a legacy fight, something that would wake him up and have him train really hard. So I just think that there's no better fight for him than Alexander Volkanovski, and welcome him to that division. So win or lose or draw, I just think that Dustin Poirier might retire, and no better way to do that than someone like Alexander Volkanovski, who's an absolute legend. So let's hear what Alex had to say as well on terms of potential matchups. He did an interview with Israel Adesanya's brother about a month ago, and I think that he's also hinted towards maybe going up to lightweight.
That's big. And then, to be honest, exciting big fight. I like that too. But it's weird. Featherweight, I'm still that competitor where all right, this is my division. I'm getting it back. I want that win back. Things like that. So it's going to be there. But then lightweight, it's like, let's have some fun while we're waiting. Because I think they're probably going to do Max and Ilya September, because I told the UFC I didn't want to fight till later in the year. Like I said, I really committed to that in my head. Now I started training. Now I'm like, I wish I didn't tell them that. You know what I mean?
All right, let me go ahead and pause that. So as you can see, Volk is gearing up to make a return soon. He said he wants to fight at the end of the year. He said that he's also interested in going up to lightweight. So I just think that that's a great matchup for him. And I just think that both these guys are going to put on the show. So I would probably put that on maybe the December card or maybe even January of next year. Both these guys are probably going to be ready by that time. So let me know what you guys think about that matchup. And let's go ahead and go on to the next matchup, which is in the welterweight division. And the one I want to talk about is Belal Muhammad. Belal Muhammad recently just won the belt against Leon Edwards. I don't think he's coming back anytime soon. It says that it looks like he turned down a matchup in October. So it looks like he's probably nursing some injuries. You got to give Belal some props. He went on an insane win streak and had a great performance against Leon. And, a lot of people are questioning him if he's going to be an inactive champ. So he said a funny tweet. He said, inactive, LOL, I'm still on trial and Shavkat hasn't fought since 2023. I think Shavkat and Usman should fight to find the real number one contender. And I 100% agree with Belal here. I think that Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's a great fighter. I'm very big on Shavkat. He's 18-0, eight knockouts, 10 submissions. That's insane. He's only 29 years old, so he definitely has a lot in the tank. And I think that's a great potential matchup for Belal, but he is right. Shavkat hasn't fought since December of 2023, and I just think with this sport MMA, it's very important to have momentum and have a strong fan base. And if you aren't fighting consistently before your title fight, it's kind of dampers things down. And I think that to get that American fan base, there's no better fight than than Kamaru Usman, who's a former champion, has a huge name on his resume. He has a lot of legacy on the line here. Multiple champion. A lot of people put him up there right right there with GSP. So I just think that's a great fight for Shavkat, to prove himself on a big stage against a big name like Kamaru Usman, and that would set up a super fight pretty much between him and Bilal Muhammad, and even add more stock to him. And then for the flip side for Kamaru Usman, he's 37 years old. He's similar like Volk and Dustin Poirier. He doesn't want to fight any meaningless fights. He wants to take his time and take a fight that's really going to set him up for a championship. And I think that there's no better matchup than Shavkat Rakhmonov. If he beat that young up-and-coming killer, a lot of people were going to say that Kamaru Usman could get that belt against Bilal Muhammad. And that would be amazing, becoming a two-time champion. That would be insane on his resume. And that would be the perfect way, storybook ending for himself as well. And if he loses to Shavkat, it's no shame in giving that young guy that passing of the torch and letting him go on. And then that's the best way for you to go out as well. So I just think that Kamaru Usman is a legend. He can retire at any point in his career. If he's still in the game, then why not fight Shavkat? So let me know what you guys think about that matchup. Would you guys like to see Shavkat fight Bilal straight up? Or would you like to see that matchup? I think that Bilal's right. These two should definitely fight. They both haven't fought in a while. And, I'm not a fan of fighters who are inactive getting the title shot. So I want to see them go ahead and scrap that out. And then we can have the winner fight for the welterweight title against Bilal Muhammad. All right, guys, then the next matchup I want to talk about is back in the lightweight division. Dan Hooker, man. Dan Hooker's coming back. He's coming back from the dead. This guy, not too long ago was on a big losing streak, getting knocked out, getting submitted. But now he's pulled off 3 great wins. The last win against Gamrot, a lot of people are saying is questionable. I think that was a barn burner. That was an amazing fight. I think it was very close. Dan Hooker, to me, I definitely thought he won that. So I think that the next potential matchup for him should be something, I think, could be a title eliminator, honestly, for him. And I think that a great name on his resume and a barn burner is between him and Justin the Highlight Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, he had that amazing fight with Max Holloway. Unfortunately, he got knocked out at literally the last second. Look at that, 4 minutes, 59 seconds of the 5th round. That's insane, So I think that he deserves, I don't want to say Dan Hooker's a winnable fight, but I would say that he's more of a winnable fight than other matchups for Justin Gaethje. And, a lot of these guys are, like I said, are all in the same boat where they're about 35 years old. They can either retire or they can, take on a big matchup. And I think right now, Dan Hooker has built his name up and resume similar to like Justin Gaethje. I guess he's like off-brand Justin Gaethje in terms of like, I know he's not known as big of a name, but he's still Dan Hooker. I still think Dan Hooker is a huge name in this division, and that's a fight that Justin Gaethje would definitely get up for, and I think fans would absolutely love that. And then that could potentially set up maybe a title fight, I would say, for Dan Hooker if he beats Justin Gaethje, and for Justin Gaethje, that gets his name right back in there, so he'd be one away, because he had that title shot kind of in the bag, and then he kind of gave that away by fighting Max Holloway for absolutely no reason. Now Max Holloway went back down to featherweight. That fight made absolutely no sense other than giving us an insane fight. So respect to Justin Gaethje, but if he wants to get back in that division, I think beating someone like Dan Hooker, who's on a nice win streak, would be great for his career. And then the next matchup I want to talk about is Charles Oliveira, because a lot of people were linking Charles Oliveira and Dan Hooker at first. I know after Dan Hooker beat Gamrot, a lot of people were making edits of them two facing off and it being pure violence. I actually want Charles Oliveira to go up in weight. I think Charles Oliveira is one of the bigger lightweights, and I think that he would fit well in welterweight. And I think that the next best matchup for him at welterweight would be Colby Covington. Colby Covington's a guy who's, a lot of people hate him. A lot of people want to see him lose. So I think this is the best babyface versus heel matchup right now to make in the UFC, where everybody's going to be wanting to Charles Oliveira to knock this dude out. And I think Colby Covington, he has a history with Brazilians, man. Brazilians hate Colby Covington. And, they might be going back to Brazil soon. So I just think that Colby Covington and Charles Oliveira, whether you put them in Vegas or Brazil, is going to be a barn burner. And he's going to get to at least try to get his name back in the title hopes by trying to beat a big resume like Charles Oliveira. Because Colby, to me, he seems like the type of guy where he's not hurting for money or anything like that because he's so inactive. So something like this would get him back into the fight game. And, whether you hate him or love him, a lot of people are going to tune in, and a lot of people probably want to see him lose. So I just think that that's a fun fight for Charles Oliveira to go up into the welterweight division, welcome him in. Nothing too dangerous. Not like Colby's gonna knock him out. If Colby does beat him, it would be basically kind of just drowning him and getting him tired. And if he can't hang with the welterweights and that's just too much for him, he can always go back down. So it's like it's not really too high of a risk fight for Charles Oliveira. And I just know that press conference and that face off is gonna be so damn heated. So let me know what you guys think about these potential matchups. These are just dream fights that I really want the UFC to do, and let me know what you guys think about them as well. Peace.